All right. Hello, boys and girls. It's Miss Salter again, coming to you with another lesson for our structure and function unit. This will be our last lesson for this unit. And then next week will be the study guide and review. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. This is Adaptations Part 2. And first thing, we're going to review adaptations again. So we've talked about physical adaptations and behavioral adaptations. So physical adaptations are features of an organism, like their body, or it could be the outside of like a plant. So what type of teeth do they have? Do they have thick fur to keep them warm in the winter? Can they copy another animal that is venomous or poisonous so they can use mimicry? Do they have warning colors? Usually those are bright warning colors saying stay back. Do they have webbed feet to help them swim in water? Do they have sharp claws used for grabbing? Do they have large ears to help them hear or release heat? Those are all physical adaptations. The other type of adaptations are behavioral adaptations, and these are things that the organisms do to survive. What behaviors do they have? So, for example, some animals, they migrate. That could be their behavior to help them survive. Maybe they hibernate through the winter, collect and store food for the winter. Do they play dead? Do they live in herds or groups? Are they nocturnal, which means they come out at night, they're active at night? Um, and behavioral adaptations can be either learned, things that they learn from their parent, or it can be instinctual, just something that they're born with. So kind of to keep practicing, you have your structure and function cards, keep practicing those at home. And last week we talked about classification or classifying animals. So what is classification or classifying? Putting objects into groups based on their characteristics. So what kind of things do they have in common? And just to review, we talked about kind of the initial way that scientists looked at all living animals. They asked, do they have a backbone? Do they have a spine? So animals with a backbone, we call those vertebrates. So like fish, reptiles, mammals, amphibians, birds, probably like the animals that you think of most typically are vertebrates. The other group is a group of animals that do not have a backbone. They don't have that spine. They're called invertebrates. So those can be many, many different types of animals. And actually, on our planet, there's more invertebrates than invertebrates by far, partially because they're really small and there's a lot of them. So when you think of insects, crustaceans, arachnids, worms, things like that, they don't have backbone. So that's one way to classify animals, vertebrates versus invertebrates. Again, invertebrates don't have a spine, so these are some examples of invertebrates. Really cool, interesting animals, but don't necessarily have that backbone. Vertebrates, scientists went ahead and classified them into even more groups, and these were the groups that we looked at last week. So we talked about fish and their characteristics, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. And being able to classify or group things is a really important characteristic of scientists, and just any way that you look at the world, just being able to group or classify things based on similar characteristics is an important skill. So your assignment last week was page 39. It was rules of classification. You had all these plant and animal pictures, even some fungus in there, and you were supposed to classify them in different ways. You did not have to use all the cards. It says everything must be in a group. But I told you guys you can ignore that and just practice classifying or grouping in different ways. So here are some ways that I classified. See if you can figure this first one out. I have a group of animals on this side and a group of animals on this side. Can you figure out how I classified those? There's kind of two ways that I could see it, I guess. This side on the left, you could say that those are mammals. And on the right side, those are all what? Birds. Yeah, you might also say on this side, these animals have 4 legs. The animals on this side have 2 legs. So that's one way to classify. I used some of the cards and I put them together based on similar characteristics. And I kind of feel like the kangaroo could be a little bit debatable whether it has 4 legs. I mean, it definitely has the arms, but let's say they do have 4 legs. All right, so look at these two. How did I classify these pictures? Got a butterfly on this side, some lizards on that side. Okay, on this side, I put an insect or an invertebrate. This side, reptiles, you could say, or invertebrates. So it's just one way, just using a few pictures. And one more way, see if you can figure this one out. Yeah, on this side, these are plants, and this side over here, this is fungus. So whatever way was your favorite way, you should have practiced a few times. Whatever way was your favorite, go ahead and have your parents take a picture of that, scan it, send it in to get credit for this week. All right, so we are going to move into our lesson for today. Our learning goal is I can identify adaptations for animals and plants that help them survive. So our lesson today, pretty simple. We're revisiting adaptations and looking at how they help animals survive. We're going to start off with the 9 bizarre animal adaptations video that you were assigned this week. If you've already watched it, great. If you haven't watched it, here's your chance. But I think even if you have watched it, it's a great, great review. It's about 6 minutes long. So we'll take a look at that and then come on back together.
Hi guys, I'm Jessie and we're here at Animal Wonders, where I love learning new, weird, and interesting ways animals have adapted to survive in all of the extreme environments of our planet. Which is why I was so happy when FrostMute19 asked me, what is your favorite bizarre or surprising animal adaptation? Thanks for asking such a fun question. There are so many to choose from and I can't pick just one. So here are 9 ways animals are using their adaptations to survive that I think are both bizarre and amazing. They become one with the poop. The giant swallowtail butterfly is beautiful, but it only survives long enough to become a beautiful butterfly because as a caterpillar, they have a very interesting survival strategy. They look just like bird poop. If I was a bird, I would not eat that. Another poop mimicker is the hill garden blue-eyed frog, also lovingly called the pied warty frog, or known simply as the bird poop frog, which I think has a nice ring to it. Yep, they make very convincing poop. Toxic explosions. A species of French guinea termites spend their whole lives gathering toxins into a gland on their back. If the colony is attacked, the oldest ones that have the most toxins stored up will explode, splatting their toxic goo onto the intruders to save the colony. Playing dead. Opossums are well known for pretending to be dead. They do it so often, we even have a saying named after them. Instead of playing dead, we sometimes call it playing possum. But they're not just really good actors. They'll actually involuntarily lose consciousness. When this happens, they release a terrible scent. It's so bad that potential predators lose their appetite for opossum dinner. While opossums are most well known for playing dead, hognose snakes, like Wilbur here, can do it too. When they play dead, they also smell terrible, but they have an epic performance. They turn upside down and start to writhe. They open their mouth and end with their tongue hanging out and their black belly up, and they smell rotten. Gross. Eating without a mouth. Zombie worms enjoy hanging out among the bones of dead whales at the bottom of the sea, which is pretty bizarre on its own. But what makes them even weirder is how they eat. They lay on their meal and secrete acid to dissolve it. Then they absorb the bone smoothie through their skin. Sounds horrible, but it also sounds a lot like what fungus does, and mushrooms aren't that scary. Walking on water. I guess sometimes running up a tree, into a bush, or diving underwater isn't the best way to survive. Besides invertebrates, the basilisk lizard is the champion when it comes to moving on water. Young basilisks can run as far as 20 meters to escape a predator before sinking. Chinese water dragons, like Loki here, can do it too, but not nearly as far. Both lizards use this skill to hunt small invertebrates, but when gravity finally takes over, they are excellent swimmers and can hold their breath for nearly 20 minutes. They're able to walk on water because they both have a light body, their legs are positioned on the side and slap onto the water, creating air pockets that help them keep afloat. They run really fast. As soon as they slow down, they'll sink. And they have really long toes. Basilisk lizards are better at this because they have extra skin on their toes that creates more surface tension, which allows them to stay on the water for longer distances. Stabby eyes. Clown loaches are cute and all, but they're hiding a secret weapon just below their eyes. They have retractable spines that can shoot out and stab anyone who's bothering them. I'm not sure if that makes me like clowns more or not. Vomit showers. Bright blue jackdaw chicks will throw up foul-smelling fluid when they feel threatened in their nest, hopefully making the intruder lose their appetite and leave them alone. Scientists think that the vomit smells strong enough that even if it doesn't keep the babies from being eaten, it alerts the parents to a potential threat and they'll be more cautious upon their return. Northern fulmars are probably the most well-known vomiting bird. The adults will readily puke up their stomach oils on potential threats. Not only does the predator smell and feel awful after being puked on, but they also lose any waterproof coating that they had before the run-in. Tiny submarines. The diving spider uses their web to trap air into a bubble so they can spend all day underwater. They even hunt and eat in their bubbles. One of their prey items are mosquito larvae, so naturally everyone should be a fan of these spiders. Eating poison. Hedgehogs like Prickle here will seek out strange plants and pungent smelling toxins to chew and lick on. Sometimes they find poisonous plants. Other times, it's things like turpentine. They get the toxins into their mouth, and then they make a froth out of their own saliva. Then they anoint their quills by licking the froth onto their back. Hedgehogs are highly resistant to most toxins, including snake venom, which allows them to safely chew and lick things that would harm other animals. You'd think having 5,000 sharp spikes protecting you would keep you safe enough, but I agree, covering your spikes with poisonous frothy spit is definitely leveling up. Prickle, thank you for being awesome. Thanks again to Frostmute19 for asking this question so I could share my favorite awesomely bizarre animal adaptations. If you have any questions that you'd like me to answer in a video, leave them in comments below. Also, I'd love to hear what your favorite adaptations are. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to learn more about animals or see how we care for over 80 rescued animals, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Animal Wonders Montana, and go on an adventure with us every week. Thanks, guys. Northern fulmars are probably the most well-known vomiting bird. The adults will readily puke up their stomachs. Sorry, this is funny and I can't say the words and it's awesome. The adults will readily puke up their stomach oils on potential threats. Okay, can you imagine taking a shower and vomit?
I don't wanna.
All right, boys and girls. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Kind of silly, but some really interesting adaptations that animals have. One of the things that I sent home that I'd like you to make sure you have on hand, or make sure you've at least taken a look at, is your alphabet of animal adaptations. So looking at this, I thought this was really interesting and kind of a fun thing to have. It said A is for elk, which, just listening to that doesn't make sense. A is not for elk unless you're talking about their adaptation. So when they say A is for elk, it's because elk have antlers. B is for ostrich, meaning because ostriches are the largest birds, and so on. So C is for panther, because panthers have claws. So as you go through this, you're welcome to color it, you're welcome to fold it into a little tiny book, but just read through it and become familiar with those adaptations. That'll help you with our assignment today. So our assignment today is the Build-A-Beast on page 40 in your student book. And in your bag of materials that I sent home, there was a little strip of paper that looked like this, and this is what you're going to need for this project. So for your assignment this week, what I'd like you to do is, if you have dice at home, you'll need that to roll it. If not, you can just ask someone in your house, like, okay, pick a number 1 to 6. Or if you're really in a pinch, just pick a number yourself. So what I'd like you to do is, for each category, you're going to roll a number or guess a number, land on a number, whatever it is, and you're going to build a beast or build a new animal. And it's not going to be a real animal. It's going to be a fantasy animal or a fictional animal based on these things. So for example, say in the first category, it says, where does it live? Let's pretend I rolled a 5. So my animal is going to live near a volcano. So take a second to think, okay, what do we know about volcanoes? They could have lava coming out, could be really hot, dangerous. So maybe my animal will have some long claws so I can climb around on the volcano and not get burned by the lava that's coming down. So like lava proof claws or something like that. For the second one, let's pretend that I rolled a 4. So what is the weather like? Maybe it's cold, rainy, and windy. So if it's cold, rainy, windy, maybe my animal's going to have a special type of covering or special type of fur to keep it warm from that cold, rain, and wind. Maybe it's just got waterproof feather fur to keep it warm, anything that you can think of. And for the last one, let's pretend for what does it eat, I rolled a 1. So leaves from tall plants. So when I think of that, leaves from tall plants, okay, my animal has to be able to reach up high and eat the food. Also, it's a plant eater, so it might have those flat teeth. So taking these into account, if I pretended I rolled a 5 for the first one, near a volcano, 4 for the second one, what's the weather like? It's cold, rainy, and windy. And what does it eat? Maybe I rolled a 1, leaves from tall plants. I drew a picture of my animal, and this is what you're going to do. Draw a picture and then add labels. So just a heads up, my picture is kind of ridiculous, and I am a science teacher, not an art teacher. So I tried my best, and I hope you guys try your best too. But this is what my wildebeest look like. He's got those long lava-proof claws. You see he's climbing up the volcano, obviously not to scale. A volcano would be much bigger than that. He's got that thick fur to keep him warm and dry, and of course a long neck to reach leaves from tall plants. So whatever you decide to do, whatever numbers you end up getting for where does it live, what is the weather like, and what does it eat, you get to design an animal or build a beast, and show us what habitat it lives in and how does it survive there. So what adaptations does your beast have to help it survive? So I would love to see your pictures. I'm so excited. I tried my best with mine, and I hope you like it. He's even got those flat teeth because he's an herbivore, eating those plants. Go ahead and submit those next week. And that's all at the end of our lesson for today. That's your assignment. I'd like you to work on the Build-A-Beast. Next week is a review week. So you have, it says end of unit test, and there's 2 different forms from A and B. And then there's an extra end of unit test after that. So make sure you're reading up in the top corner, study guide and review for structure and function, because our next unit after this is healthy science. And I just went ahead and included that review as well, but don't get to that just yet. So just work on your study guide and review for structure and functions next week, and we'll go over that. But for this week, you're working on your Build-A-Beast. And I can't wait to see your beast that you come up with. Use this little strip right here to help you figure out where does it live, what's the weather like, and what does it eat, because that's really what adaptations are designed to help with. Where does that animal live? Its adaptations are specific to help it survive in that habitat. What is the weather like there? It's helping it survive that weather and adapt to that. What does it eat? It has adaptations to help it get its food. So if you have any questions, as always, please feel free to email or reach out. And I hope everyone's doing good and staying safe. And I will